Hello, and thanks for joining me at IT Home Lab Online. In this video, we're going to install Docker on an Ubuntu virtual machine. We're going to create a base stack with a couple of containers, and we're going to link those containers to Tailscale so that they're accessible from anywhere in the world that you have access. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we need to do, if you haven't already done so, is to create a Tailscale account. So if you simply go to tailscale.com, you can create a new account or sign into your existing account. Now, I've already added a couple of machines here. When you go through the sign up process, it gives you the options for setting up two machines that will talk to each other. So I've got my Windows Demo Lab machine here and my Ubuntu Docker 01 machine here. One setting that we do need to check and make sure of is if we go into the settings, go into HTTPS and make sure HTTPS is enabled. It's disabled by default. We want to enable it for our lab. You can also change your tailnet name in here. The one that it comes up with is TS and some random numbers. So I've chosen this one. It's nice and short, easy to use. Okay, so the next thing to do is to install Docker on our virtual machine. So I'm going to open up a command prompt and SSH into okay, so that also confirms that the Tailscale network is working. So to install Docker, if you just go to get Docker, or search for getdocker.sh, click on get Docker, and just copy this command here. Paste it in there. That downloads the install file. You then need to modify the permissions on the file to make it executable. And then you can run it. I have already run it on here, so I'll abort it. Okay, once you've finished that script, you can check to see that it's been installed. Now, the next thing I like to do, I like to keep all of my Docker configuration files and compose files all grouped together. So what I will do is make a directory under my media folder called Docker. Then I want to change the permissions on that. Change the ownership of that to my username and the Docker group. And then from this point forward, I can make directories and things without having to use the sudo command. So I create a configs folder for my configurations to live in, and a scripts folder for my my compose files and things to live in. Now I'll also create my first stack folder, which is going to be called base, and then I'm going to change into that directory. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is create an environment file. This environment file has variables and things in it that I'll use across all of my Docker stacks. So what I'm going to do is actually create it in the subfolder or the parent folder of this folder in the scripts folder there, and it's going to be called .env. And then I'm going to copy these contents into there. So this just sets my time zone for all of my Docker machines, my user ID, my group ID, my downloads folder, which is not relevant for this particular stack, my media folder, but this is the key folder here, which is the configurations. Now the other thing I need to do is get a TS key from Tailscale. So to get that, you go into Settings, Keys, and generate a key. Now I'm going to make this one reusable, give it a name. You can call it whatever you like, it doesn't really matter, and click generate. Now I've already generated a key and made it reusable. So I'm going to just recover that from my text document where I saved it. And I will update that in my configuration or environment file, sorry. If you want to find out what your user ID and group ID are for the Docker group, first we'll need to add the user to the Docker group. This command here, and all of these commands and things I'll include in the description, obviously. Okay, so then if we do an ID command, so I can see the user ID for Ubuntu is 1000 and the Docker group is 988. So that corresponded to those numbers there. Okay, next file I'm going to create is the compose file. This contains all of the commands for setting up the Docker containers. And I'll show you briefly what's in here. So Portainer is the first service. That's a portal for accessing your containers. It means you can view the logs, you can do an interactive console with them, etc. Very useful tool. This is the Tailscale sidecar that accompanies Portainer. So this will make Portainer accessible via HTTPS and using a common name rather than having to use ports for everything. Same deal with IT tools, handy set of tools for generating QR codes, converting file types, that sort of thing. A Tailscale sidecar to accompany it. Syncthing is a tool for synchronizing data across wide area networks. So if you're looking at syncing your photographs with an offsite service or something like that, you can use that and host your own, and the sidecar that goes with it. And then Watchtower. Watchtower is a tool for keeping your containers and images up to date. So that doesn't need a sidecar, that runs in the background. There's also a separate network for each of the services, which means that you don't have to worry about port conflicts or anything like that. So we'll save that. Now we'll create a build script. What this basically does is sets up the containers and things and runs a script afterwards. So if the container's already up, it brings it down, brings it back up again, then it has a delay, and then these commands here are the ones that execute. So this executes within the Portainer Tailscale sidecar, and it runs a command that makes it accessible over port 443 HTTPS, and that's the original port for it. And then this command at the bottom here just confirms that it's all working. So now we need to modify the build script to make it executable. So now if we go back to our machines on here, you can see we only have 2 machines. When we run the build script, I forgot to create the symbolic link to my environment file. So what I need to do is create a link to the to the parent folder, which is scripts. Actually, what I'll do, just to make it a bit clearer, scripts. So that will create a symbolic link in this folder. And then if I do a -L is list, A is for all files, and H is for human readable. So you can see that symbolic link's been created now. So I will rerun my build script. And if we come back here, you can see now these additional machines are being registered in Tailscale. And now we should be able to go to, HTTPS, IT tools, and let's try that again. So this is registering for the first time, which is why it's taking a little bit longer, but it's now done it. We can have a look at the logs. So if we go to docker logs and specify Portainer container, we can see here that it's setting up the HTTPS setup. Okay, so we need to set a password on here to begin with. Get started. We can now click on our live environment and see that we've got 7 containers running. You can see the status of them all. Watchtower is healthy. And if we have a look at the logs here, okay, so that's pretty much all there is to it. If we go back over here, so you can install this on iOS. You can install it on Android. And basically what it means is that all of your containers are accessible over the internet. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And thanks for watching.